In yet another fresh escalation of tensions in West Asia, US President Donald Trump has issued a stark warning to Iran. In fact, speaking with NBC News, Donald Trump declared if they don't make a deal, there will be bombing, the likes of which they've never seen before. Now, this threat comes after Iran rejected direct talks with the US, citing Washington's maximum pressure campaign and military threats. Trump, by the way, also hinted at reimposing secondary tariffs if Tehran refuses to negotiate. Trump said, "We'll give it a couple of weeks." Meanwhile, Iran insists it will only engage in indirect talks with its President Masoud Pezeshknian, reiterating its Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei's stance.
جوابی هم که مقام معظم رهبری در رابطه با نامه‌ای که ترامپ فرستاده برادر ما دکتر عراقچی اونو به کشور عمان رسوندن و به دست رابط آمریکایی رسیده و در اونجا هم مذاکره به طور مستقیم رد شده، اما مذاکره به طور غیر مستقیم همیشه ایران در اون رابطه بوده و الان هم مقام معظم رهبری تاکید فرمودن که مذاکره غیر مستقیم همچنان میتونه ادامه داشته باشه. ما از مذاکره نه تنها پرهیز نمی کنیم بلکه اون بدعهدی هاست که برای ما مشکل ایجاد کرده تا کنون باید ثابت بکنن که میتونن اعتماد رو در رابطه با تصمیمات ایجاد بکنن که امیدوارم اینم شکل بگیره.
Well, US President Donald Trump, known for his no-holds-barred approach to international politics, is at it again. This time making waves over his fury at Russian President Vladimir Putin and his hardline stance on Iran. And of course, what's happening right now could shake global markets. In an interview with NBC News, Trump didn't hold back his anger over Putin's recent comments, suggesting Ukraine might need new leadership. Trump, calling Putin's remarks counterproductive, did not mince his words, declaring that if the war in Ukraine is not brought to a halt and if Russia's actions are the cause, he'll hit Moscow with secondary tariffs on its oil. Trump has raised eyebrows worldwide now. The ripple effect of such a move could send shockwaves through the oil markets, with countries like India and China, major buyers of Russian crude, feeling the pressure. But this isn't just about oil. Trump's criticism of Putin and Ukraine's leadership underscores his volatile relationship with both Moscow and Kyiv. He's long criticized Ukrainian President Zelensky, even calling him a dictator during their tense interactions. But Trump's team will tell you that his frustration is palpable because he wants results and isn't essentially afraid to stir the pot to get them. However, it's not just the Russian-Ukrainian war that's in the crosshairs. Iran, too, is on Trump's radar. In yet another bold statement, Trump threatened military action against Tehran, warning that if Iran doesn't agree to new nuclear talks, there will be bombing, the likes of which they have never seen before. Now, this is no idle threat. Trump's administration already withdrew from the 2015 nuclear deal, and now he's pushing for a hard line to prevent Iran from advancing its nuclear program. But it's not all saber-rattling. While Trump's rhetoric sounds like the world is on the edge of a cliff, fortunately, traditional diplomacy still exists. Iran's President Masoud Pezeshknian responded to Trump's tough talk, saying Iran isn't avoiding talks, but insists the US needs to prove its trustworthiness before moving forward. So it seems like a game of high-stakes diplomacy with both sides playing hardball. And then, of course, there's the economic impact. Trump's proposal of secondary tariffs on Russian oil could spark major disruptions in global energy markets. As you know, Russia is one of the world's top oil producers, and any attempt to block its exports would send oil prices soaring. Countries like India and China, who have emerged as Russia's main buyer since the invasion of Ukraine, would be particularly affected. So with the US recently reporting a tentative ceasefire agreement between Ukraine and Russia, Trump's next moves will be critical, but will his anger with everything we're seeing right now lead to real action, or is this just more posturing? Well, we'll keep tracking the latest for you and keep a close eye on all the political developments. We have a reaction from James Bowden. Listen in.
It's an honor to be with you. Thank you. Thank you.
It was interesting to world issues that Russia is involved in and that Russia and the U.S. do not see eye to eye.
It's an honor to be with you. Thank you. Thank you.
It was interesting to...
Well, currently on the broadcast, we have with us Major General Sanjay Soy, retired Defense and International Affairs expert who joins us. Sir, as always, thank you so much for making time for us on NDTV. Trump has just warned of bombing Iran if Iran doesn't engage in direct nuclear talks. How credible would you say the US president's threat is, and what impact would this have on global security?
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Parmeshwar, for inviting me for discussion on such an important topic. In fact, you see, the Middle East is on a boil for last 2 years, since October 7, 2023, because after the Hamas attack. Then the Iran Houthi, Israel Houthi, Israel Hezbollah, and of course the problem in Red Sea. And in his election manifesto, Trump had mentioned of two things. One was peace between Russia and Ukraine, and second was sorting out Iran. Basically, they don't want Iran to become a nuclear power. Because if Iran becomes a nuclear power, it becomes a major threat in the Middle East to Israel and American interest. Being a nuclear power becomes a absolutely great deterrent effect on these USA and Israel if they want to attack Iran. So that is why they want to derail it before it fructifies and reach that level of making a nuclear weapon. They have done it in the past. They had Stuxnet, the virus they had inserted in their computer. They killed some of their scientists, and now they are doing the arm twisting. So, Parmeshwar, I would say that behind the scene talks are going on between Iran and US, and they are not doing it directly. They are doing it through Oman. But however, this is a arm twisting tactics, so that when the talks are going on, a pressure is brought up on the Iran that if you don't agree, there would be consequences would be very serious. Trump has threatened, as you had mentioned in your report, of more economic sanctions and direct bombing. Economic sanction, Parmeshwar.
With Iran's refusal to negotiate directly with the US, many say it underscores a crisis of trust. But given the US's history with withdrawing from international agreements, at this point, can Washington realistically expect Iran to trust them in future talks?
Absolutely, Parmeshwar. I was about to come to that only. Like in 2015 agreement, Trump had withdrawn in 2018. And similar thing if we see with other countries also, whether ditching Afghanistan or whether they withdraw from, the way they are handling Ukraine crisis. So there's a factor of trust is there. And however, if the bombing takes place, Parmeshwar, it will be a catastrophe for a world because Iran is not a small power; it is one of the major powers in Middle East. And if this thing escalates, where you had rightly brought out, it will have a problem on oil prices. It will have a crisis in the Red Sea, and US is already involved in bombing in Houthi bases, which is supported by Iran. And there's already a problem with Israel. Hamas is not yet over. Their bombings are going on. Hezbollah is still active. So, and there are issues in Syria. So Middle East is going to boil further, and it will definitely have a major geopolitical impact, both strategic and economic. Whether the Iran goes further in the lap of Russia and China, because China has also signed economic deals with Iran, and Iran has been supporting Russia with drones, Shaheen drones, and in their war with Ukraine. So that is another angle which is coming up, and with the US trying to arm twist Iran. Will Iran succumb to this? Because the response of Iran has been very, very powerful and strong. Then IRGC Naval Chief has also mentioned that we'll not take it lying down. We'll respond appropriately and chase them up to the Gulf of Mexico. That is the kind of statement they have made.
That's the rhetoric coming in. In fact, sir, as the US ramps up pressure on Iran's regional allies like Iraq and the Houthis in Yemen, as you mentioned, many experts warn that these actions could actually destabilize the Middle East even further. What's your take?
Absolutely. I mean, the kinds of things which are happening, it is already divided in two parts. And now, whether it is like you said, the Syria is in problem, Iraq has an issue, Yemen has an issue, Gaza has an issue, Lebanon has an issue. So those areas are already on the point that regular bombings are taking place, regular attacks are taking place. With the Iran also joining in, it will be a major catastrophe. And whether it is the Gulf of Persia or Red Sea, Sea, the international trade, international oil supply, the prices, the inflation, everything will be affected. And as I mentioned, whether again Russia and China, how much they support they will give to Iran, because the way Russia has been suffering and Iran has supported them in time of
Well, I
crisis,
sincerely
I'm
hope
sure
there's
that
a diplomatic channel that this can be pursued through. But sir, as always, thank you so much for making time for us. We look forward to reverting to you for regular updates.